Hi, and welcome to the weekly predictions based on astrology for the week of January 4, 2021. In terms of the overall direction for the stock market, I think it's going to be a down week, starting with the down prediction for Monday. On Tuesday, I think there's a slight chance of market going up, and pretty much down from there on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And towards the end of the week, I would say Thursday, Friday, we may experience perhaps even more tensions or volatility in the market. The first couple of days, I think, will be relatively, I wouldn't say calm, but calmer than the end of the week. And on Tuesday, market may even go up. For Monday and Tuesday, the kind of couple of things that may be noteworthy is that we may hear some news about either some corruption or the increased news about topics like corruption, some financial shady dealings, manipulative activities, especially involving some large corporations or governmental officials, maybe some scandals, some secretive information may be leaked, or somebody is literally is engaged in some financial manipulations. And along the lines of these kind of secret hidden activities, we may also hear more news about little underground activities. So for example, mining or any sort of underground storage, recycling businesses, even burials or events that have to do with the end of cycle or end of life. So maybe some project is coming to an end, or some corporation is closing its doors. Obviously, there's some news about businesses, unfortunately, small businesses in particular, closing their doors for good because of the pandemic, but those would be the increased type of news on Monday and Tuesday. And there may also be increased data about, again, say the virus, like how many deaths there are, or again, how many, say, businesses have closed, or how many projects have come to the end. And again, it doesn't have to be in a negative way, it could be just something that has finished because it's wrapping up. There may also be increased news along the lines of like new rules about how something should proceed, for example, how recycling should be done. And or there may be some news about notable like sales or acquisitions in the companies that either have something to do with some secret or manipulative activities, like some secret service type of thing, or little underground activities such as in mines, some caves underground, storage underground, etc. Starting approximately on Wednesday, the 6th, and through pretty much the end of the month, we're going to have a few weeks of really exciting activities. A lot of surprising news may be coming out, and those may range from excessively windy weather, maybe even with lightning storms, or something that starts abruptly, like maybe like a tornado, or something that just kind of starts out of nowhere, but then also basically is gone really quickly. Or there could also be associated power outages or service outages, including social media platforms. There may also be volatile swings in the stock market, and in particular, businesses that are related to finance, like banks or any financial institutions, currencies. Those areas may experience particular volatility. There may also be positive exciting news about some expansion of projects related to like IT, telecoms, aerospace, electric cars, like batteries, or even power generation companies, anything that's like high tech and sort of cutting edge industries, electronics, etc., and even aerospace, airlines in general. And in those areas, there may be some exciting news about like new frontiers are reached, or something exceeds certain level, like maybe new level of power or speed, or how far something can travel, or how high something can travel. So we may hear about some exciting sort of, advancements that basically will have to do with like some limits are surpassed, or something expands in a really kind of a grand way. And of course, if this expansion, this kind of the surpassing of the limits is not something that's controlled, such as in an experiment or something that's being invented on purpose, of course, the flip side of that is that there may be news about accidents, because again, something went like a rocket or car, that the engine is too powerful, or it went too far, too fast, too high. So that could lead to news about, again, some accidents due to, for example, some part breaks down because, again, there's just too much pressure, or it's overheating, it was pushed too far. And at the same time, there may be, again, positive innovations that follow that part breaking down, because there may be a need to invent something that's better so that it doesn't break. So in the process of repairing something that was pushed to the limit and maybe surpassed the limit but broke, there may be innovations made to make things, more durable for long term. Let's see, and the types of situations that may occur that go, there could be volatility in the market where literally things go like through the roof, or it could be something along the lines of an accident where things that go through the roof too far, they fly out basically uncontrollably in all directions. And this particular week, the time where things may be, I guess it would be more like next week actually, but things may start building up this week, where there may be, I guess, either intense sort of focus on these either inventions or these heated events. I would say the 13th to 14th is where one would want to look to see if some process or some project reaches a point of reversal where maybe things are going into one direction. Maybe, I don't know, it's an experiment or a trip or some negotiations. And on the 14th, we will have Uranus turning direct. And so things that perhaps were previously in the process of being reviewed, checked over, and sort of in kind of like reviewed, like I said, and thought through, or maybe the data gathering phase on the 14th is when something may be actually launched or reversed in its direction. So maybe if there was a decision whether or not some sort of like computer or car or some sort of new device, how it should look or how it should function, and certain things were not quite yet determined on the 14th, it may be sort of finalized and launched, like I said, into production or something like that. And at the same time, there may be also either changes in direction, and there may be abrupt with respect to some sort of legal situations, such as immigration or various like laws related to travel and transportation. And again, there may be some reversals in some of these decisions around the 14th. But again, things may be building up already this week before that. So maybe there is something that was pending, whether or not, certain shipments are allowed to cross certain borders. And on the 14th or by the 14th, the situation may be kind of resolved where the decision may be reversed, or if something was pending being reviewed, it may be sort of legally finalized at that time. But it would not be like a smooth transition. It would be more along the lines of this abrupt, sudden decision. On the 7th, which is Thursday, and that's what I'm saying, Thursday, Friday look to be kind of more tense and volatile compared to the first half of the week. So both Thursday and Friday look fairly tense. There will be increased volatility. Friday looks kind of worse than Thursday, and there will be, again, volatility, significant moves in like markets and also currencies, including cryptocurrencies. There's also increased probability of various kind of protests, military skirmishes, fires, industrial disasters, accidents, and attacks. Again, these could be just of natural weather related, or it could be, again, an industrial disaster where something is not stored properly or is not handled properly, and things can, like I said, get out of hand. There's too much heat, or things just fly out in all directions without control. Let's see, on the 7th through the 10th of January, there may be increased news about the change in the value of or profits from things like weapons, flammable materials, sports, especially related to fighting or racing or anything that's like risky, dangerous, and generally speaking, businesses that I thought of as risky and dangerous, maybe like casinos or climbing, any sort of equipment, or maybe teams, anything that's really associated with these risky, high, base activities, things that are involved, either businesses or say services or products that are involved with these kind of areas, their value may go up, or there may be reports of these businesses enjoying greater than usual profit 7th through 10th of January. And also starting around the 7th of January and going for entire month through about the 7th of February, and I'd say particularly the entire period of 9th through the 31st, and then specifically February 5, it's going to be quite an intense, eventful time. Again, on the one hand, there could be exciting news about some inventions, especially airlines, airspace, high tech, something like really cool, fast, surpassing previous limits. On the other hand, there is increased probability of market volatility and things, if they're not properly controlled, kind of causing some accidents, or there being surprising weather events that are like unexpected winds that may interfere with, say, airline travel and things like that. At the same time, in this period of 7th of January to 7th of February, there may be a lot of news coming out about important legal decisions, new laws, international agreements or conflicts. So basically international relations will be in focus, and decisions about long distance travel, transportation, and basically moving of people or goods across borders. And the other area that will be featured, as I already mentioned, that will be anything high tech, IT, aerospace, even social media, and any sort of technology, advanced technology that's applied to, say, finance. So maybe cryptocurrencies or processing of money in some digital way, and that could be for, say, online retailers, etc., or banks. So those areas may experience, again, either some power outages, service outages, maybe like some sort of cloud platform temporarily experiences some disruption, or it could be unexpected, again, changes in how something is processed due to some, say, legal changes in the situation, or it could be, again, unexpected power on off. So definitely some surprises. Some could be just disruptive, but some could be perhaps positive, where again something was under review and finally things are allowed to launch and move forward, and that would be 14th onward. Let's see there. Unfortunately, this whole period, I'd say 7th January to 7th of February, may also see increased news about accidents, and could be things like, or disasters like landslides and power outages, as I mentioned, but also any sort of like problems with fireworks or any flammable kind of materials that are, again, could be stored improperly or improperly transported. And let's see, the whole week of January 11th looks like this week, as much as Thursday, Friday may look somewhat disruptive. Things will start building up, and I would say week of January 11 looks particularly disruptive. Definitely at least exciting. And so that would be next week, and that's when there will be increased focus on international agreements or discussions and any sort of legal changes, be it in terms of like politics, but also related to like international partnerships, or again shipping things across borders, or perhaps also accepting payments in some digital way or currencies. So basically trade, and especially with focus on doing things sort of digitally, be it online, using platforms, etc. And there we could have both exciting developments, but also disruptions and some sort of intermittent on-off kind of disruptions where things are not quite static, or things just keep changing almost every hour, that kind of situation. some positive manifestation could be where some projects that perhaps again were in limbo, now there may be granted kind of more permissions to proceed forward. There may also be just general news about some entity being granted freedom, or if maybe vice versa, if there's some situation about someone's rights or freedom, the previous decision may be revoked. And again, that would be around the 14th. Or perhaps there may be news about someone who's like rather wealthy but eccentric. There may be news about that person acting extra, sort of over the top. And that's the entire month, but especially the next week. Let's see. So Friday, I would say, in terms of the 5 business days of the week, looks like the most tense day with increased market volatility in terms of, especially for banks, financial institutions, and currencies. Also protests, military skirmishes, fires, disasters, attacks, etc. And at that time, there may be intensification on like of verbal sort of arguments, which may be kind of tense, and almost like a phrase "shouting match" comes to mind. And these could involve verbally aggressive exchanges involving governmental officials or, say, corporate officers, so kind of leadership. And they may focus on areas related to either funding or finance, earnings, as well as areas that are again related to like airlines, high tech, IT, electric cars, aerospace, those areas, perhaps corporations in those areas or funding of those areas may be somewhat discussed more, I guess, in a more heated manner. So there may be some discussions about either funding or regulating of those areas, and discussions in general, and especially of these areas, may kind of be getting a little bit more aggressive. And also at that time, towards the end of the week, is when, if there are any protests or threats that maybe have started earlier in the week, or any sort of skirmishes on some borders of various like areas in the world, towards the end of the week is when things kind of may pick up, and there's increased probability of just things escalating to be more dangerous or risky. And also, in general, the mood will be that people will be more likely to engage in things like gambling, driving fast cars, or just doing things a little bit more risky and more aggressively than perhaps they normally would. So things like firefighting, there may be need, to fight fires more. Basically, the energies where some people may be more likely to engage in doing some risky activities. Of course, this will take other people to come and clean that up, or basically restore, safety. Then on Saturday, and at night, we may experience situations where, if there's some negotiations that, like I said, perhaps were like shouting matches around Friday, on the Saturday, things may actually stall or slow down, or there is either a suspension of negotiations or a delay, and also transportation and communication businesses may suffer some sort of delays. So perhaps packages may be delivered later, flights are delayed or canceled. And again, this could be just some bad weather, too much wind, or it could be because, again, of some of these dangerous situations, they may cause these kind of delays, both in communication, negotiations, but also with transporting and delivering packages. Let's see, the 10th, with Sunday continuous similar energy, where the tense negotiations may continue, but kind of at a slower pace, and the travel and shipment may experience, again, some delays. And as I mentioned, these tensions, especially the ones from Thursday and Friday, will continue building up, and then the following week, the week of January 11, may see an even greater market volatility, and this could be both to sort of some negative or concerning events related to, like, say, anti-governmental protests or some industrial disaster or some kind of more dangerous events, but also could be due to some exciting or surprising news related to IT, telecoms, airlines, space exploration, electric cars, etc. So in those areas, we may hear about a lot of surprises. Some could be positive, some could be negative, but regardless, because of these kind of new changing sort of pace events, there may also be increased volatility in the stock market. And at the same time, especially next week, there may be increased news about some important legal decisions, sales, acquisitions, and again, those will probably relate mainly to like IT, telecoms, airlines, air travel, immigration, space exploration, long distance rather, shipments, electric cars, online sales, etc. Let's see. So the background influence starting this year and through, I'd say, November of next year will be switching compared to 2020. So in 2020, the focus may have been more on things like earthquakes and shakeups, literally like earth trembling under one's feet. Here, we may still have this year and into next year probability of landslides. So I would say not as much of like, there of course could be earthquakes, which could lead to landslides, but the landslides may also be due to excessive precipitation. And so the focus may be on excessive precipitation along with sort of windy weather. So unexpected winds or storms and unexpected, maybe even an explosion somewhere. And that leads to, say, land collapsing, or there's again excessive precipitation, floods, and there's a landslide. So landslide, mudslides. And generally, we will have this on-off Saturn square Uranus transit, which typically, or in the past rather, had coincided with both some, let's say, drops in the stock market and also with increased probability of various disasters and kind of unfortunate accidents and bad weather. And these could be related to sort of things that are transported by air, so drones, airlines, etc. Also telecoms, basically anything that's transported again by air or digitally. And those areas may also experience, because of Saturn kind of is on the one hand, there could be increased controls in those areas, increase, I'd say, perhaps losses maybe due to, again, there is an accident or bad weather and flights are delayed, and so it leads to losses. Or it could be along the lines of like maybe there's an accident, but then there needs to be increased regulation of something to ensure safety. On the other hand, Saturn's, I guess, positive manifestation would be that it would make sure that things are safer, and yes, things may proceed slower, like some innovation may slow down. However, because something goes through more checks, again, the end result is a little bit more solid because it's done without excessive rush. And again, the rush could be rather those checks may come in just because maybe an entity is developing something with a lot of sort of discipline and foresight and just kind of it does a really good job. And so whatever is developed at the end, maybe some sort of spaceship or something like that, is super solid, really is going to last for a long time. Or it could be because things were rushed to production, there's an accident, followed by checks or governmental regulations of the area to make sure things do not repeat again. And so then the next time around, or the next, I guess, version of, I don't know, this rocket or something like that is a lot safer and a lot more solid, again, because of, there had to be an intervention for things to be slowed down to make sure all the checks are in place. So some of the disasters that I saw in the past that kind of had somewhat similar transits included things like Deepwater Horizon spill, and like this accident occurred in 2000 in the Dutch city of Enschede, and that's where the fireworks that were improperly stored, they exploded. It was a huge explosion. And also just, things that may be like a boat that would sink really fast. So one thing under these aspects, and the transits will be specifically, like I said, lasting for about 2 years, but the focus might increase like in the month of January. And then the big time, again, I have some of the specific times in my predictions at tolstunka.com. But another like a really important time would be late June, early July. And during those two, especially these particular two those two periods, January of 2021 and then late June into early July, not only will the Saturn and Uranus be squaring each other, they will also be joined by other planets, specifically Mars, and also in January by Jupiter, to make things kind of take it to another level, make things kind of even faster, even more dangerous, or reaching, beyond some limits even further than normally would have occurred. And what I've seen in the past, some of the disasters that came up or occurred rather under similar conditions with a lot of involvement of Uranus, is when things occur really unexpectedly and fast, to the point where even if, say, there was a ship and it had boats, the boats that are intended for people to get onto and sort of leave the ship if its ship is sinking, the things were occurring so fast that there was not enough time to basically for everyone to get out. So if, God forbid, or somebody you know is experiencing something like that, it's good to keep in mind that definitely if somebody tells you to get out, and don't take your stuff, your luggage or whatever it is, that just the focus on basically getting out and not engaging in dangerous and risky activity, I guess, in the first place, might be a good idea. So let's see. Again, of course, not everybody will be affected. I guess individuals perhaps who have a lot of planets, including Sun or any other planets in the signs of Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius might be affected a little bit more than others. But in general, I would say, unfortunately, some of these times during the Saturn and the Uranus transits may affect everyone, because, like I said, there might be just generally tense times geopolitically, with like clashes of ideologies represented by those two planets, like more of the revolutionary kind of a freedom-loving sort of entity, or not entity, but energy, and Saturn being kind of like the let's slow down, let's let's make sure that things don't change too fast, too much, and obviously those are not quite compatible. So there will be a lot of like this tension in the air, which at times may result in some clashes, disasters, and market drops. Let's see, so for this month, I would say times around like 11th of January, the 20th, 24th, and 28th may see increase of these kind of dangerous aspects. Let's see, then in terms of the areas, not only the market volatility may increase in January, but also increased volatility in the cryptocurrencies and currencies in general, including the potential reversal in some decisions or some direction, either of the market or of the value of the related products on the 14th of January. For US, January 2021 may see increased news about communication transportation businesses, as well as education and international partnerships. And in those areas, we may expect fairly drastic changes, where the way things were done before may completely change. So completely new partners or new agreements, or something, like education may, just be taken to a different direction where it's now online, or like I said, new agreements are formed and old ones are dissolved with international partners. And there may also be increased news about sort of financial problems in terms of like either illegal activities or manipulations or bankruptcies, but also some scamming kind of activities, spying and hacking even, again related to financial institutions or currencies, and also increased news about like tariffs, taxes, insurance, and loans. So any sort of debt and rates will also be in focus for US in the month of January. For China, December through the end of January, but especially early January, should see increased news about some sort of new grand visions and plans, again related to like IT, telecoms, high tech, anything that's like really sort of innovative networks, power plants, as well as healthcare and veterinary care. There may be again some innovations announced or some new grand plans to increase, the amount of something, or maybe build really grand power plant, or to expand network beyond some sort of limits, like in a major way, or build a huge airport or something that really would give this digital sort of advanced technology edge to China, maybe some aerospace grand project. So this is the time for China to be kind of thinking of those projects or announcing them and planning many years ahead for really major, big sort of advancements in those areas. And there may also be changes in their status of in various organizations, such as the Asia Pacific Economic Corporation or any other partnerships. So there again maybe some changes in those areas. That's for China. And lastly, there may be projects or initiatives that may be related to taking care of, say, excessive pollution or recycling, dealing with perhaps problems, say, with flooding and chemicals, but also any either innovations or dealing with something that maybe was a negative situation related to like excessive chemical pollution, or improving hospitals, improving places that previously were like damp, forsaken, dirty, and kind of improving things in those areas. So this would be January of 2021. January 21 are the times where some of these large projects that are aimed at improving some of these areas, that's a beneficial time for those projects. If they do begin at this time, they will likely be successful long term. So in terms of oil, I think there will be increased news about oil, gas, as well as any other Neptunian areas, such as, say, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, etc., through February of 2021, and especially this may peak at the end, like maybe 24th or so of January. And there we may hear about some unexpected and surprising news. It could be either something along the lines of like pollution, for example, situation that involves pollution or maritime disaster, or it could be increased news on having to maybe countries that are involved in not manufacturing, but I guess say sending oil, shipping oil, and just selling oil in general. And there may be increased kind of tensions between those countries, and especially January 18th through 19th may see some problems that arise that are related to concerns about oil, or value of oil, and this may coincide with a large market drop. And then further this year, there will be 2 more periods where, again, there may be intensified perhaps conflicts between like manufacturers or countries that produce oil or ship oil, and that would be in April, especially 8th through 11th, and then early September, especially 1st through 3rd of September. So at that time there may be some conflicts about oil or disagreements about prices, or accidents, involving, say, pollution of water via oil, or some spread of some chemical or even infectious diseases, as well as there may be market drops at that time. So again, for January it would be especially 18-19, April 8th through the 11th, and then September 1st through 3rd. And that's for oil, gas, chemicals, and pharmaceuticals. So I think I'll stop about here. And as I mentioned, I do have a blog at lestonka.com where these weekly predictions as well as other kind of predictions are posted. So if you want to read through the dates at your own pace, feel free to visit me there. And if you just want to come back next week and just listen to me talking through these predictions next week, check me out next week. And until then, have a great week, everyone. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.